Two Omicron subvariants driving up COVID-19 cases here. What does it mean, and should we be concerned? COE prices climbing even higher, with premiums for large cars hitting $106,000. And a fire in Hong Kong leaves 20,000 households without power for 2 days. Welcome to The Big Story with me, Olivia Quay. Remember to subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss an episode. Know someone with COVID-19 right now? Well, according to the Health Ministry, the recent rise in community infections is driven by the Omicron subvariants BA.4 and BA.5. The latest numbers show a 23% week-on-week increase in community cases, with 30% of those being BA.4 and 5 cases. MOH says the surge in cases with these newer subvariants is likely to continue due to their higher transmissibility. But for now, the BA.2 subvariant still accounts for the bulk of infections in Singapore. There were 6,393 new community cases recorded yesterday, the most in nearly 3 months. We should know that case numbers on Tuesdays tend to be higher compared with the rest of the week because they reflect the spike in infections after the weekend when more people are out and about. We're happy to have Professor Dale Fisher back. He's a professor in infectious diseases at NUS's Yong Loo School of Medicine. So, Prof, we know that from MOH that while BA.4 and BA.5 are more transmissible, the severity of illness is similar to earlier Omicron strains. So, given that most of us are vaccinated and boosted, are these subvariants anything to be worried about now?
Thanks, Olivia. I don't think worry is quite the right word. It's about monitoring for new variants or new subvariants, monitoring for increasing hospitalizations and severe disease. So as you mentioned, that even with the increased spread we've seen from Omicron, we just haven't seen the increased severe disease, and the numbers in the hospital are, well, they're real, but they're quite low and quite manageable, and that's because as a population, we've got good immunity, both from vaccinations and boosters and from natural infection as well.
Well, Prof, something that you have told us before on the show is that BA.4 and BA.5 infections are escaping immunity. Is it time then to consider a second booster shot for the larger population?
Well, again, it's about severe disease, and even pre-vaccination, we know that in the younger age groups that severe disease was much less common. So what we're able to do is actually there's a few countries in the world ahead of us in this in terms of starting their vaccination campaigns, particularly Israel, and they can look at the severe disease occurrence in particular age groups as time passes since their last booster, and that's really what's driven a lot of the decisions in Singapore about getting people in the older age groups boosted, because you can see that after a period of time, severe disease again starts to creep up. So we'd only really offer it to people in the younger age groups if we started to see that severe disease creep up. You need to justify all the decisions, and that's what helps people have confidence in the decisions. So it's really only if overseas we started to see more severe disease in the younger age groups that I think we'd start recommending boosters. It may come, but we need the data.
Well, speaking of severe disease, based on the current hospitalization and ICU numbers, which remain low, Prof, at what point do you think we need to think about reintroducing measures?
Well, it's like the boosters. We need good justification, and it's really hard to see a situation where you'd want to increase or resume the blanket measures because they were very extreme. They had ramifications in terms of social and economic impact. So So you want to make sure it's necessary before you do it. And the only thing that would make blanket measures necessary is really a new, completely new novel virus. And in that sense, we were starting again, or there was a variant that completely escaped all the immunity that we've got, which again meant we had to start again. And that's when you'd really be going back really to January and February 2020. So I can't see a situation where that's even a bit likely, but of course it remains an option. Of course, reintroducing measures in fact that haven't even all come off yet in the high risk settings such as hospitals and nursing homes where there are vulnerable people, that could make sense. So again, that's not a blanket measure. That would be a targeted measure in a specific setting. But again, really the best protection for people in those specific settings is vaccination. That advice has never gone away. So maintain your vaccination status, have boosters if they're advised and therefore indicated. And again, as I think I've also said on your program, we need to add influenza into that advice, because we haven't seen much influenza over the last couple of years. There's a lot of surges of it happening. There's more cases in Singapore, obviously, but there's a lot of cases overseas. And if you're in the group where influenza vaccine is recommended, then I would certainly get on with that as well.
Many thanks to Professor Dale Fisher from the Yong Loo Lin School of Medicine at NUS. Meanwhile, Singapore will contribute $10 million to a financial intermediary fund for pandemic prevention, preparedness and response, or PPR for short. The fund aims to fill critical financing PPR gaps and promote a more coordinated approach to PPR investments. It will value add to existing work to catalyze domestic investments in low and lower middle income countries, as well as build pandemic PPR capacities at the regional and global levels. In other news, there is a confirmed case of monkeypox here, with MOH reporting last night that the patient is a British male flight attendant. The 42-year-old was in Singapore between June the 15th and 17th, and then again on the 19th. He tested positive the next day and is presently warded at the National Centre for Infectious Diseases. Well, contact tracing is ongoing for the affected flights as well as for the duration of his stay in Singapore, during which he mostly remained in his hotel room except to visit a massage establishment and 3 food premises on June the 16th. And as of yesterday, 13 close contacts have been identified who have since been placed on quarantine, and 2 low-risk contacts have also been put on phone surveillance. COE premiums climbing even further today, 2 weeks after they breached the $100,000 mark in 2 categories. Let's have a look. For big cars, category B prices are up 5.3% from the previous round to just over $106,000. In the open category, which tends to be used for larger cars, prices are up 3.6% to over $104,000. Premiums also rising in the other categories. Here's more from our senior transport correspondent, Lee Nian Zhou.
Well, if I'm honest, I'm actually quite surprised. I mean, normally when you see that the COE in the previous tender has gone so high, the market tends to get a little bit softer, the bidders would pull back. But this time round, instead of slowing down, it's actually picked up speed, right? And usually, I mean, I'll give you some reasons on why COE might be going up. One thing that we have heard in the grapevine across since the last bidding, actually there were a lot of unfulfilled bids, right? Bids that were submitted, but they were not successful in the last tender. So that's already got some pressure. On top of that, you also have the situation where there are more road shows that be going on. So on one hand, we have school holidays, people are traveling, but those who are not traveling, well, I reckon they're probably buying cars from the malls and the road shows that they see.
It's official, ferry services between Singapore and Desaru will start from July the 7th, with tickets and schedules available online from June 30th on the Desaru Coast and Batam Fast websites. The trip between the Tanah Merah and Desaru Coast ferry terminals will take 90 minutes each way and can have up to 330 passengers on board. According to Afghanistan state media, a magnitude 6.1 earthquake has killed at least 280 people. The U.S. Geological Survey reports that the quake struck early this morning with its epicenter near the town of Khost, which lies south of the capital, Kabul. It's also near the Pakistani border, and shaking was felt in Pakistan and India as well. This fire in Hong Kong yesterday has left 20,000 households without electricity for 2 days. And it doesn't help that the temperatures are forecast to reach a high of 31 degrees Celsius with high humidity. Electricity supplier CLP Power says one of its cable bridges in the northern district of Yuen Long had caught fire, cutting power to around 160,000 customers. Supply to essential services like hospitals and railways has since been restored. Well, those are our top stories today. Visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay, and I'll see you tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.